We are so back.
It's time.
So back. DNVR Draft Pod.
Let's go.
The day the prophecy foretold is here. Merely days away from Texas, Colorado State. The Bison against the Buffalo, a great derby of buffalo-like herd animals is upon us on ESPN tonight. What a time. It's a week where college football gets to just own the weekend.
It's nice. It's
a beautiful thing.
Thursday night, Saturday night, Friday night. We've got good games every
Sunday
single
night
night for the next 5 nights.
Monday night there's a game. Dang, I love this so much. This pod, it fuels me. It fuels me at this time of year. Absolutely, in all ways, all levels of football, we are locked in. So yeah, usually we'd keep it till the end. Today, because it is tip top of the mind, it's our everything. We're previewing these games, and then we'll get into some cut day stuff, because there's always important team building and prospect lessons to be learned on cut day.
UDFAs matter, man.
Dude, Feoko, did you see that? Cut from the Cowboys. Yeah. 4th rounder just last year.
That's surprising.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I know. You know, half these guys that got cut, I'm like, oh shit, I'd like them on the Broncos practice squad. But first, week 1, 'tis here. Week 0, what'd you guys think?
I thought it was fun. I mean, you start off with the upset, obviously, Wake Forest, who's a team that I think had some preseason noise and was kind of open about the chances of being frisky. They won 7 games last year. They brought it to them, though. You know, like Florida State comes right out. They're moving the ball well. It looks like it's going to be a blowout, and Florida State Wake Forest, just punches right back.
GT.
Good God, Georgia Tech. Thank you.
I was wondering.
How many schools can I say? NC State. Yes.
You're good.
Yes, the Yellow
Georgia
Jackets brought it in Dublin. What a time to be alive. And yeah, Florida State, DJU, not it. Definitely not it.
I mean, felt very validating. Like, I mean, it's been in this territory for a couple years now.
And that FSU defense, not as advertised.
I mean, that was what we were watching coming into week 0 was FSU's defensive line. That was the only thing really worth watching besides the actual football, the games itself. And
when the Yellow Jackets needed to, they were able to run on them. No problem.
Haynes King was running all over them.
Dude, Haynes King. That's one of those guys who you might have thought, oh, okay, I remember getting hyped about Haynes King in 2020 when he was playing for A&M, right?
But this is why we love college football, right?
It's the best.
These guys, former kind of flame out at a big-time SEC school, then just goes and upsets the preseason ACC favorite in Dublin, Ireland.
Truly legendary. It truly was legendary.
He's got some dog in him, man. It's something about that, like the scrambling white QB out there talking trash and stuff. The team buys into it. It was a lot of fun to watch.
For sure. We just talked about this on the Rams show. But obviously I thought New Mexico's QB looked really nice.
He'll be on portal watch for sure. Devin Dampier. I mean,
he won't be there for long.
He is a really good athlete.
The fact they retained him is
he flashed last year as a freshman.
There's plenty of transfer QBs who aren't as good as him already. I mean, you put him on several teams, I would be like, oh shit, Boise's
he'd
got
be an
him,
upgrade significantly in Boise. I mean, even in the Big 12. I mean, I think you could look at half of the Big 12 and he would be an upgrade.
Absolutely, yeah. Arizona State, Houston. I think there's a lot of programs that would love a guy like that for sure. Anything else from week 0? Was a bit of a bummer, all in all. Like,
I thought there were some great games.
They were surprisingly competitive. I mean, you had a chance for some upsets, and obviously those didn't come to fruition. But at least we got good games, considering a lot of those spreads were 20-plus points to get 3-4 games that came down to the wire. That's a win for me in week 0.
One marquee matchup would have been really nice.
Yes, but
one.
The first 3 games were all 1-score games, and they all came down to the wire.
It's true.
It was only the Hawaii test that really kind of disappointed us.
Right.
Yeah.
And on the island.
And the Hornets covered too.
They never cover. We need to stop talking ourselves into Hawaii covering on the island.
They
swear,
still
it just
do
doesn't
more times
happen.
than not. It's just not the lock that it used to be. It used
Last
to be a
year was
legitimate lock.
Not a profitable proposition. Okay. Well, we had no marquee matchups necessarily last week. We sure do this week. And it's glorious. And we'll just start in chronological order. And when there's a tie on the chronological order, we side with the local team. So there you go. We start, though, with North Dakota State versus Colorado. And Jakester, keys to the game. Buffs are 10.5-point favorites.
Mm-hmm.
More and more action on them. What are the keys to the game?
Keys to the game, or what the entire focus this offseason has been. North Dakota State's going to run the ball. They're going to try and drain the clock. They're going to try and control the game from the get-go. So Colorado's got to, stiffen their back and, get nasty in the trenches. They're going to have to sustain drives. They're going to need to run the ball. They're going to need to, North Dakota State's run game is going to be very varied. They're going to run power. They'll run zone read. They'll run. They'll bring in number 9, their backup quarterback, and run QB power and all this stuff. So
it's going to be a lot of RPO game and trying to hit you right there over the middle.
Yep. So you gotta be disruptive. You gotta crash pulling blocks. You gotta beat double teams. You gotta get around the edge when they do pass. You gotta get to the quarterback. So because I think that CU is the more talented team. I think you look at all the positions and every single one should go to the Buffaloes. So it's just going to come down to winning in the trenches, really, and just winning possessions.
For sure. It's going to be a nice little first test in the trenches, both sides of the ball for the Buffs. You kind of get to see what reshaped O-line and D-line are going to look like against the Bison, who have kind of made that. That's a program that's been built inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Always has been.
Cole Wisniewski, linebacker safety on the Senior Bowl watch list. Won't be in, but Cam Miller, the quarterback. Hunter Brosio, which, what a name. That's a bro's name right there. And Gray Zabel are the pros on the Senior Bowl watch list. On the Buff side, obviously, Shador, Travis Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
There are other wide receivers you want to watch. Any other guys you would kind of point out to keep an eye on who might be particularly key in this one?
You mentioned the wide receivers. They're going to be 4 or 5 deep just in the terms of the first team. I mean, they've got like 9 or 10 guys who can go.
Yeah.
But defensively, obviously, Travis, what he's doing. But the other corners, too. Preston Hodge, DJ McKinney, these are really good corners also. Cam Silman Craig, who's going to be back there with Shiloh as well at safety. He's really good. Trevor Woods is at a great camp at linebacker. He was a starting safety last year. Now he's moved down to linebacker. All these edge rushers, too. I mean, they've completely reloaded and stacked this edge room. They think they're about 5-6 deep there as well. So let's see who pops. And there's guys, too, that they've been kind of hiding as well that we know are going to go off.
Biggest names on the edge, the 2 Pittsburgh transfers.
Dayon Hayes, Sam Okunlolo, the 2 Pitt guys. BJ Green, though, is probably going to be the best player they have on the edge. He's coming over from ASU. He was their best defensive player. But also watch out, for guys like Tajay McCoy. I don't think anyone besides Buffs fans listening to this knows who that is, but this was a 3-star recruit who came in last year who was just really blossomed. Last game of the year last year against Utah, the defensive ends coach and Jordan Dominic both said, watch out for this guy, and he's been a terror.
Okay, pick time. J-Mike, you choose an evil here. Minus 10.5. You going on the plus side? You just
it's well said.
Spite pick.
I'm not. I'm trying to be realistic.
I'm just trying to set you up here.
I mean, the big question mark to me is like, how improved is that offensive line? Then obviously stopping the run. If you're North Dakota State, I think you try and limit possessions. If you're able to run the ball for 4 or 5 yards a pop,
run game
drain the clock and limit how many times Shador touches the ball. That's going to be, their path to covering and potentially, even upsetting. Like if they were to be in the game, that's the way it happens. North Dakota State isn't what it once was. It's just not.
True. That's so true. They really are.
I know they're 8-4 against the FBS since like 2010 or whatever. One of those wins was CSU. Remember it well, 2012. But I think that the gap in athleticism and talent is just a little too significant in this one. I do think it's going to be a good game. I think they're frisky enough. I think that they're well coached enough that you hang around. But I would be kind of surprised if they cover the 10.5 by the time it's all said and done. So give me CU to cover.
Yeah, prepping for this game, I was a bit surprised how kind of undersized in the trenches, particularly defensively, and like underwhelming athletically the Bison were on the outside.
And they lost their best receiver. He's at Iowa State now.
I think
that's been the big
difference.
challenge for them these last couple of years, and that's kind of the big difference between what used to be such a dominant program is now when they have guys pop, they leave, and they didn't used to.
Yeah.
So
Christian
it's
Watson.
just tough.
Right, exactly. Building and sustaining a lead, a double-digit lead, is something we didn't see a ton from the Buffs last year. So that's a big test. Like, this is not just an auto cover at minus 10.5 because of how successful the Bison have been the last 2 decades. But no, I think just slightly I lean Buffs, but I think it's a well-set line.
Yeah, Buffs are going to cover, I think. I think they win this pretty handily, and the nation's going to start to realize how much better this football team is compared to last year's.
J-Mac, Colorado State, Texas. From draft perspective, you have a lot of intriguing prospects. I think a lot of this game starts with Torrey Horton and how that Texas secondary, which is quite green, particularly at corner, can kind of adjust and cover him up. And
yeah, I mean, I think there'll be a lot of NFL scouts with their eyes tuned into this one. Obviously, Torrey versus that Texas secondary is something to keep an eye on. But even, like Braden Fowler-Nicolosi, if he can have a season where he pops all of a sudden, he's getting thrown into conversation. He definitely has the arm talent, but he's just raw and inexperienced as of now. On the Texas side, I mean, obviously you've got Quinn Ewers, and, is he able to build off of what we've seen? He throws a great deep ball. As you mentioned on the Rams pod today, also at times when you get in his face, he can be a little bit erratic. He doesn't attack the middle of the field super well. So I'm interested to kind of see what happens there. But Texas has just got speed, man. I mean, between Isaiah Bond and Jalen Blue, the running back, and everyone that they've got on this roster, it's a tough matchup. Probably a well-set line. It's down from 36.5 to 32 now, so some movement in CSU's favor. That said, for a lot of reasons, I do like the Rams to cover the spread. I think Texas, with that week 2 trip to Ann Arbor looming, I think they have a lot of incentive to essentially get out of this game as healthy as possible. I think you're going to see a lot of subs on both sides of the ball. In that Texas heat, week 1, 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time start, 2:30 Central. It's going to be hot.
Yeah, that's
but yeah, I think the Rams hang around a little bit. If you could have a performance similar to like what you had in Tuscaloosa in 2017 or 2013, even Arkansas in 2018, 2019, that'd be great. It'd be an opportunity to kind of establish some positive momentum there going into the rest of your season.
For sure. I mean, Texas, I think Kelvin Banks has the chance to be the top offensive tackle in this
I didn't
class.
throw out enough draft guys, but yeah.
Ewers with his talent. I mean,
And your guy,
he lights it up.
the edge.
Yeah, Ethan Burke, I think, has a ton of talent and could be that. Isaiah Bond, the transfer wide receiver from Alabama, could just blow up this season and be the top wide receiver in this class. I mean, it's across the line. I think of the 4 playoff teams from last year, they're probably the one that returns, not probably, by far the one that returns the most talent,
starters
right?
from that playoff team. And obviously you got your quarterback back.
Well, and that's way better than Michigan, way better than Washington, almost certainly better than Bama.
I think the questions are defensively. I mean, you lose those big defensive linemen in the middle with Murphy and Sweat.
Yep.
Kind of unproven at corner. They're reliant on some transfers to kind of fill some gaps there. CSU's got a lot of speed at receiver, man. Like Torrey Horton is the real deal. Armani Winfield's a 4-star recruit that came over from Baylor. He looks the part. He just moves differently out there. They also bring over Donovan Ollie from Cincinnati. He started at multiple P4 schools. They've got size and experience at the skill positions. I think they're capable of making some explosive plays and kind of, doing some stuff. it's one of those where the gaps in depth, and especially on a hot day like this, it tends to be the difference in the end.
I think they're Frisky cover.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big number, and I like what Justin said about the point about next week with them. I mean, that's a massive game. They're already down bad in terms of running back depth. So I think that's going to play a factor as well in this game, because to cover those spreads, I mean, you got to be dominant on each drive, right?
Yeah, you got to play a perfect game.
Yeah, and so if you don't have a running game that's going to be consistently able to, sustain drives, pick up first downs, make it easy on Quinn Ewers, then 32.5 seems like a bit of a long shot to me. But I do think Texas wins. I do think that this team is maybe not as good as last year. So they lost a lot of defensive line depth as well. Those two big guys in the middle.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
On your mark, get set, eat. Make it a pit stop at Raising Cane's. You guys know it. Cane's has been amazing with our draft coverage all offseason long, continuing it into the season. You want some delicious, tender, to-order chicken fingers in your life. Cane's has you covered always and forever. Little Texas toast, little cane sauce. It's how you live, man. That's living your best life, living that Cane's life. And yeah, always delicious. We need one around the DNVR bar. We really do.
Mm-hmm.
For cook to order, hand-breaded chicken fingers. Race into Raising Cane's. Turbocharge your chicken fingers and get them even faster by ordering online at raisingcanes.com or through their mobile app. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love. And of course, all these betting lines we are using and talking through found at Bet365. Just had an amazing convo with our friends over there across the pond, many of which making the move to Denver because they're starting their U.S. headquarters here. Really excited about all the custom bets we'll be able to bring to you this year. Of course, it's the only place you can get DNVR's custom bets, the only place you can use our code DNVR365. And right now, brand new offer at sign up for those of you waiting to get in on the fun with the start of college football season. Sign up, $5 bet, $200 in bonus bets as soon as that $5 bet is settled, win, lose, or draw. So all you have to do is sign up, and then your first bet of at least $5, bang, $200 to play with. And that's a good one. I've done that before, and you play your cards right. You can turn all that bonus money into real money, or even double your winnings. It's not bad. And right now, football season's back. You got to get in on all the fun. It's a great time as we are keyed in on all this stuff. I don't know what else I would do if I didn't have Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Okie doke.
Ever stop whining? Jesus Christ.
Moving on from the local games, we now are going to get into some of the big games of the weekend, starting with Georgia Clemson.
Big one.
Yeah.
Rivalry renewed.
This is a great game. It's Georgia 13.5 point favorites. I mean, wow, how the mighty have fallen. And Clemson really has lost some steps in just pedigree of talent. It's just hard to get excited about.
When you listen to the national guys, the camps are kind of split on Clemson this year. It's either this is the year it all falls out, and the lack of being willingness to modernize and embrace the portal ends up being Dabo's undoing. I've also heard a lot of people that are kind of like, Clemson's sneaky really good this year, and they didn't bring in the portal guys, but they've hung on to a lot of the guys that they brought in and developed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested to see, because I do think it is kind of the make or break year for Dabo. Either the dynasty is done, or he kind of gets his FU moment and makes it a little bit more interesting. 13.5 is a lot for week one. I will say we have seen Georgia thump some teams in week one openers in recent years, just absolutely come out and murder them. I lean Georgia with the returning QB. They're going to be able to run the ball. Defensively, they still got so much speed.
Yeah, lots of talent on both sides of the trenches.
Give me the dogs.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm taking Georgia. I don't care what the spread is.
Yeah, I mean, why would you?
At this point, I
know
kind
the
of
spread I do care about. Like the book is telling you you're a sucker if you take Clemson.
Yeah.
They're going to smoke them.
Yes.
And I mean, so there's lots of talent in the trenches. I'll be watching Georgia's left tackle. He's a returning starter. I mean, defensively, you're watching everyone on the Dogs. Definitely the D line, and then I love their safeties, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Clemson, yeah, there have been fewer and fewer and fewer guys on my draft list for the Tigers. And it's what? Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Makuba, the safety, goes to Clemson.
This year is Barrett Carter at linebacker.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Barrett Carter is the I'm so unenthused by them.
It feels like the momentum is cooled significantly. Like I said, there is a world in which Dabo is right and we're all wrong. But I just don't see it. And Georgia in week one kind of feels like Alabama in week one under Saban for a while there, where it's like they would play, like USC or some big premier game and everyone would talk themselves into, oh, this is going to be a great premier matchup. We've got these two big schools. And you have third stringers in by, the end of the third quarter. So I don't even think this is a game.
This game isn't in Athens, but it is in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz. So this is basically a home game for the Dogs.
What's cool is, there's the other chicken place that has a spot in the stadium.
Yes, yeah.
But Falcons games are on Sundays, and that place is always closed on Sundays.
Right.
I think it'll be open because it's
Chick-fil-A will be open for once. The vibes are good.
Yeah. We, of course, are Canesmen, so we don't acknowledge them. But, yeah. Okay. Next. Notre Dame, A&M. Do I have this right? Former Duke quarterback against former Duke head coach.
Yeah. Look at this guy.
All right. Keeping up in the portal.
That's right. The Devils. Yeah, I think that's a big little storyline here.
What's funny is I'd make an argument that Duke ended up better off in the long run anyways, bringing in Malik Murphy from Texas.
You think, huh?
I think there's some untapped. I mean, they got to lean into his athleticism and just let him play schoolyard ball. But
he had some moments last year.
He got a hose.
Longhorns. Yeah,
they didn't. I mean, season didn't fall apart when he went out there.
Mm-hmm. I really like Riley Leonard, and I think that's where I'm leaning towards the Irish in this one.
You like him more as an addition than you liked Hartman?
I do, though I did like Hartman. I just think the ceiling and athleticism of Riley Leonard is quite high, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I was skeptical in Freeman's first year, but I think I'm more convinced about what they're building over there in South Bend. I mean,
this is a huge game. If you get through this game, their schedule's a cakewalk after this.
Honestly, they're probably the biggest lock in the entire FBS to make the playoffs.
Outside of Riley Leonard going down, yeah.
But even then, with a backup QB,
they could still
they've got a good chance
they're still
to be
probably
a
going 10-2
team,
right?
And still be ranked like 10th.
I mean, their defense is going to be one of the best in the country this year.
Olen, you've got a couple injuries coming into this one, which do concern you for sure. And I mean, you're replacing Audric Estime, which I don't think is just going to be automatic.
He was so good at Notre Dame.
He really was.
Where are you guys at with this A&M offense going into this year?
Unconvinced is where I am. Unconvinced.
Yeah. I need them to show me, man. Give me a 10-win season before I buy back in, please.
It's been a hot minute. I mean, what are your thoughts, J. Mike?
It's just the same. Nobody's done less with more in recent years. I mean, you look at the recruiting class rankings that they've had, and I know that's an imperfect way to view it. There are plenty of 5-stars that never do a damn thing, and there are plenty of, underrated guys, 3-stars, whatever, that come in to be studs. But I mean, all indications is that they have landed elite high school talent, elite athletes, and then you go out and you watch, and it's like not only have they not been in the mix, it's like you're not even in the same ballpark as Georgia or Bama or Ole Miss or some of these other schools in recent years.
Them all.
Yeah. So their return for their dollar has not been great.
Damn straight.
Drawing a blank on the QB's name. Was
Connor
Wegman. Yeah.
one way or another, next week on this podcast, we'll be talking about a Wigman or a Riley Leonard performance that convinced us, and we're like, could he be QB4? That'll be a conversation.
This is a true road game, right? In College Station.
Yes.
For Notre Dame.
Yes. This is at Kyle Field. It's a 3-point spread. Aggies are favored.
Yeah, they're favored by 3.
If Notre Dame wins this week, they got a playoff spot basically locked up.
There's a lot. Yep, exactly.
Look at their schedule.
Exactly.
I mean. It's a cakewalk.
There's a lot of really good talent. We talked about the quarterbacks. I think the top guys on either side of the ball are both on defense. Nick Scourton, thank you. The edge rusher, former Purdue, big time player, almost double-digit sacks in the Big Ten last year. Benjamin Morrison, the corner for Notre Dame. Many people have him in the first round. Some think he is a contender for cornerback 1, and it's because he's got that kind of upside and traits. Just a great athlete.
This is backtracking real quick. I don't want to make this a whole thing, but just kind of going back to what we're talking about with the CSU Texas matchup. I like the defensive portal additions A&M made a lot more than the Longhorns did. You know, we talked about those corners of the Tech set. Like, you know, if they added the guys that A&M added, all of a sudden,
100%.
Like, oh,
100%. Yeah.
What other games you guys interested in?
That's intriguing right there from SN Services in the Toyota chat. I'd bet the under 46.5 in this game.
That's a low line.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not touching it.
It is.
I'd take Notre Dame money line, if anything, here.
I think it's a sharp pick. I don't know if I'm down for the emotional turmoil of sitting through 3.5 hours rooting for an under in college football week 1.
100%. I like the Irish. I like their quarterback's running ability. I think that makes the difference in this one.
Are you guys in on Miami this year? I know we talked about it a little bit with the ACC stuff, but
that's a big game too.
Bet you guys are more in on Miami than I am.
It's a lot of moving pieces.
I'm not doing it again with Cam Ward. I'm not doing it. I'm not going back to that well.
The pieces he has are significantly better.
Dre, you've talked about this before, though. You look at backfields, especially early in college football. Yep. This is one of the best backfields in the country.
Love a good backfield. I do love a good backfield to start the season.
And
that is a great one.
They're going to beat Florida.
But let me ask you this then.
Yeah,
if Florida loses this game, and all indications are that they will, I mean, Graham Mertz is their starting quarterback. CSU legitimately thought they were going to land Graham Mertz 2 years ago, just to give you an idea of, and he's been starting in the Swamp for 2 years.
Well, Napier we thought was maybe a potential hire.
Well,
too,
and if they lose, does Napier make it to October?
No way, bro.
I don't think so.
Muschamp and McElwain got fired for way less at Florida.
McElwain went to back-to-back SEC title games.
Yeah.
Mullen had them going to...
Mullen was awesome.
Yeah.
No, they're in massive trouble. Honestly, bro, they're probably calling up Urban by midseason.
Oh Lord!
Oh, I bet they've already had somebody's already made a couple of wine dinners in South Florida.
Yikesies. What's the line on that?
2.5. Florida, Miami, Florida's favored
in the Swamp.
In the Swamp.
Yeah, they murder. Cristobal, great hire by Miami.
That's a big prove it moment for him, though, too. I mean, especially after the way they lost some of those games stupidly, you know, like, I mean, it's a real thing. Like, he's turned it around, but also they have yet to win a game that, like, actually matters.
Yeah, bit of an idiot game manager. It's true.
So that's, to me, like, this is a prove it. If Miami's for real, they should go into Swamp, win this game by double digits.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd agree. It's crazy to have that level rivalry game.
Week 1.
Yep. Week 1 like that.
It's class. It's almost like early 2000s Rocky Mountain Showdown getting CSU CU on like Labor Day weekend at Mile High.
Yep. Yeah, it's really true. We've got one more game to talk through, the Sunday game, which I'm very intrigued by. But first, a shout out to our friends at Toyota. You know Toyota. Safety, comfortability. It's the perfect Colorado car. The perfect car to cruise through on a beautiful mountain drive, a nice little mountain roadie, a little camping trip. You've got it all in the truck bed right there. So many 4-wheel and all-wheel options. So many great truck options. The 2024 Tacoma, for example, and then also a very environmentally conscious company offering a ton of zero emission vehicles right now. Whether it's a truck or an SUV, Toyota always has you covered. What a phenomenal partner. Bringing to you our chat here. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota in Arapahoe and Centennial, Crowan Toyota in Boulder, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL. And then DNVR events. I mean, you guys know it more than anyone. We've got a Rams watch party to kick off week 1 coming up.
It's event season. You can come through to the bar on Saturday, watch the Rams game, stick around, watch an awesome night slate as well. Our friends at Coors Light are giving away a Yeti cooler. RSVP online at our website to enter for a chance at that free Yeti cooler. It's tailgate season. Week 2, Broncos Steelers, the Russ revenge game. Denver's going to boo the hell out of them. The atmosphere is going to be incredible. Come down to the best tailgate spot in town. Crack open some ice cold Coors Lights with us. Eat some snacks. I mean, it's a blast. DNVR events, keep up with everything. You can go to our website, thednvr.com/events. Keep up to date with all of our awesome stuff we've got going on.
And tonight, come out to the tailgate tonight. And if you can't make it up to Boulder, come hang out at the DNVR bar. It's going to be packed.
Damn straight.
Should I go tonight, Jake?
To the game?
Well, to the tailgate.
Absolutely.
Going to the game.
Tailgate is, even if that's a classic college football move, go to the tailgate, not even have a ticket, just hang out. Vibes are good. That brings me back. I miss those days.
God bless you.
I was the sneezy one on the Rams show.
God bless us all. God bless college football.
God bless college football.
And God bless Bo Nix.
God bless Bo Nix. Damn straight. Okay. Please do. LSU, USC. With FSU, the programs that are most abbreviated, and no one's going to complain about it. I'll be watching LSU's tackles. Love those guys. Love me some Will Campbell and Emory Jones. But it's really, what do they have in Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback? I mean, we talked about the hot seat with Napier. Maybe not to those levels. But Brian Kelly, nice season with Jaden. Can you do it again?
Hottest seats on the other side of the sideline here.
Really?
Lincoln Riley, yeah. This is a big...
Jake, I'm over Lincoln Riley. He'll have his second coming. He'll have his renaissance at the next school where everyone's like, oh, yeah, he's QB guru. We all love him. But the Lincoln Riley USC experiment is a failure to me.
This is a massive year. You missed on Malachi Nelson, your last 5-star quarterback. He didn't even get the starting job at Boise State. Miller Moss came in. He played well in that bowl game. But is he able to sustain that level? How many times in college football have you seen a guy come in, have a breakout first performance, and then he just never lives up to it?
DJ Ukulele.
Exactly. So,
the counter is Caleb Williams, though.
That is true as well. But you need to see Miller Moss live up to what he was. And because if he's not that, this team's going to be bad.
And he's got it. They still don't have anything defensively.
They finally got rid of Grinch. They have Deanton Lynn as the defensive coordinator.
They have a real coach, at least coaching them. But I mean, when you look at what they did in the portal
from last year, will be the big one. Bear Alexander against that O-line will be a nice one to watch.
Lincoln Riley's had to publicly challenge him to give more effort and stuff in practice.
The vibes are not good in SC.
No.
Yeah, they're not. But I am excited to watch Miller Moss. I think these are two kind of
great QB name,
unknown quarterbacks. I think the offense figures it out. I think the defense looks like trash again. Tigers cover 4.5.
Yes.
I think LSU wins this game by double digits. I'm just out on USC. I'm in on LSU's pass rush.
How quickly the mighty have fallen.
Miller Moss could go out there and throw for 500 touchdowns or 500 yards and 5 TDs and make me look like a total idiot. That very well may happen. But
I'm a slight believer in him.
I am too.
The rest, I'm more skeptical about.
Fair.
They have the returner wide receiver.
Zachariah Branch. He's a beast.
2026 draft. We are talking about him heavy.
Yep.
Dude's a magician with the ball.
Yeah, he's
just
sick.
like electric.
I'm with
Freak.
Nicole B in the Toyota chat. I thought USC would have gone harder in the portal than they did.
I think they did. They just got beat by Oregon, Mizzou.
That Nike
all these,
money.
Yeah, all the big money teams right now.
Ole Miss.
Okay. Let's switch gears to cut day. I have some takeaways here. Just draft stuff. Get into it. I guess my biggest one is undrafted free agents really matter.
Mm-hmm.
We got to think of these draft classes as like 10-player draft classes.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, when you see in Denver, guys like Frank Crum beating out more veteran offensive linemen, including Matt Pert, former top 100 pick. You see Blake Watson beating out veteran running backs like Tyler Beatty and Samaje Perine.
Mm-hmm.
And I see like in Seattle, DJ James, a draft pick, getting beat out by D. Williams, the Tennessee corner, who was undrafted. And on down the list, it really is like it's the third day of the draft is then you got to analyze all these UDFA pickups because they're really valuable. And every year you have guys who basically every single team is signing on to the 53 or will have an impact in the next 2-3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, you look at former Rams right now in the league, like Chigozie Anuzium, UDFA with the Commanders. He got the highest, guaranteed signing bonus of anybody in coming out. That's a sign that they believe in him, and it makes sense. He ran a 4.39 at his pro day. You look at Dallin Holker in New Orleans, undrafted. He's going to be their number one tight end this year. Undrafted free agent that they bring in out of CSU. It's a major part. And honestly, like, we should know it in Denver, obviously. I mean, what is the streak now? How many years in a row has an undrafted free agent made the roster? It's
I know.
north of 20 at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, this year, it's at least 4 guys.
And I like all of them. Put some respect on the Mountain West, by the way. Frank Crum, Dallin Holker, all doing their thing.
Shout out to Zay Weaver, too.
Yeah. Another guy that never should have gone undrafted, by the way.
Easily.
Him and Holker, those were the two that really I was like...
7 rounds just isn't enough.
Well, I mean, Zay had so much go against him throughout this whole process. He was hurt last year, had a shoulder injury, got that operated on in like
the
December/January. Yeah, so he was held out of everything. He would have had a Senior Bowl invite, I believe, too. Obviously, wouldn't have been able to do that. Didn't do the combine because he was there. He couldn't participate, though. But he comes out to his pro day at CU, and it was just exactly what I saw on tape from last year. It's like, how does this guy not get drafted?
Yeah.
And then he does. And it's like, all right, well, he's going to make the team. And he was the Cardinals' most impressive player in preseason.
Yeah, and just such a great opportunity. I mean, Zay and Dallin Holker are 2 guys who just went to the perfect opportunity, the perfect spot. And that's a great example of why UDFA matters. A lot of times, these 7th round guys...
You might be better off being a UDFA than being a 7th round pick. You pick where you land.
You are.
And, I mean, Norvell talked about that with Holker. It was like the best thing he did was picking a good spot to land. Holker had like 4 or 5 offers, pick New Orleans, and it was perfect.
Agents are doing that, and in those cases, they're really picking it nicely. Then the other thing I'd have is, some notable cuts. Desmond Ridder experiment is already over. I guess
they signed him to the practice squad, I think.
That was such a terrible QB class. Pickett's backup somewhere. Malik Willis got traded as well. Sam Howell's on his second team. Who else was in that class?
I haven't sold all my Sam Howell stock yet.
Sam Howell. Yeah, and then Ridder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not great.
No.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I am buying Hendon Hooker stock.
You're in on him.
He's looked good in preseason, and Nate Sudfeld getting rid of him in Detroit is a really good sign for him. I think he can replicate somewhat. Like Jared Goff to me seems like a reachable ceiling.
I think that's fair. He's got the arm.
He's in a great situation.
Better athlete, moves around better.
Yeah. And he was a really tough eval. He was older, he's in that offense, and then he has the injury too. But the upside was always easy to convince yourself in if you had some patience and could develop him a little
Well,
bit.
and there is something too, and we've seen it now with a couple years in a row. These older quarterbacks are popping. Guys, sometimes, we overthink it. We get a little bit too cute. Sometimes just going with the guy that's played a lot of freaking football, maybe doesn't have quite the ceiling, but the floor is significantly higher. Sometimes that's the way to go.
100%.
How about another guy we spent a lot of time talking about in the pre-draft process? Caleb Farley cut. I mean,
I know.
another one.
I know. Well, and the Titans are on a streak of like every first rounder not named
not
Jeffrey
great,
Simmons has been like a total disaster. Yeah, I thought that was noteworthy too. Just crazy.
He's just falling
Kid
off the
with all
radar.
the talent. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And then Marshawn Lloyd's an interesting one in Green Bay. I think that Matt LaFleur offense is great for running backs. A.J. Dillon put on the IR for the rest of the year. So it's him and Jacobs are really going
And
to
they let go of Jones,
Yeah, I know. And
who's in Minnesota now, I
Yes.
think. Nice little wrinkle.
Mhm. And Lloyd, though, we got to see because he's been dealing with a hamstring injury all offseason. So he hasn't played a ton in the preseason. But
You guys
I
surprised
thought that was
Kadarius
intriguing.
Toney got cut?
No, you see it coming, but I did put him on our notes because I think there is more of an at-large discussion to be had on, every year it's so easy to talk yourself into the gadget guy, the gadget offensive weapon, like, oh, returner, slot wide receiver. He can be your scat back, this, that, and the other. They just never work out.
It's pretty rare.
I mean, Tavon Austin just retired.
And the dudes that do
everyone's
work
like,
out are like the guys that you land off the street that nobody saw coming.
Exactly. It's more often that an Austin Eckler works out.
100%.
But like this, since Percy Harvin, I don't think any of those guys drafted in the top 100 have really panned out. Debo, sure. But
he can be a more
mold,
complete
right?
receiver. Like, he doesn't have to do the gadget stuff to be.
McCaffrey and Debo are the two who I've thought like, pre-draft, were we thinking of them that way? Do they quite qualify? Both those guys are at least north of 205.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that, I mean, we always talk about the NFL. It's a size game, man.
Yep.
You got to stop thinking you can.
Is Worthy
sacrifice
another
size.
gadget guy to you?
That's more of a true like speed play. But
I'd
yeah,
agree.
I mean, I think there is some buyer beware with Worthy.
Interesting.
I don't think either of us were fans of him
No,
4 months ago.
no, for sure. I will say Tyreek Hill maybe fits that mold of like he's coming out and you're thinking of him as a gadget.
Well, he was like a 5th round pick too, though.
Yeah.
And he's significantly more well-rounded than anybody
No,
anticipated
I mean, that's
coming in.
everyone we've mentioned. It's because they found a role.
But remember when Tyreek started doing his thing in KC, he was like a gadget player. He
Yeah.
wasn't a wide receiver.
Yeah,
he
it
was
was
like
mostly returns.
exactly returns, reverses, screens.
100%. But just like it's so easy to get yourself excited. It's so easy to talk yourself into, all the things they can do, all the fun ways you can use them. And it's like, just buyer beware.
It's all the things they can't, but it's like, can they do the most important things consistently?
Mm-hmm.
And that high-end, gadget play, that's great when it hits.
Yeah,
But
right.
can you be on the field when it's 3rd and 7?
Can you just plug them into a position and line up and execute what you need to execute? That often can be more important than anything else.
Tell you what, there's a couple of guys playing receiver locally that they end up on the Chiefs. It's going to be tough for some local college. If you're a Broncos Buffs fan, if you're a Broncos Rams fan, Torrey Horton, Travis Hunter, all these guys I would think would be on the Chiefs watch list.
Oh, that'd be devastating. I also think, Isaiah Bond really fits that mold right now of kind of a gadget guy. Like, can he establish himself as a true wide receiver in
The Texas guys anticipate him being more of the Worthy role than a true 3-down receiver. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And I mean, is LB3 like that, Jake? Does he not have a defined role?
No, I think he's pretty legit.
Okay. Just a straight up wideout.
Yeah. I mean, shit, man. We're talking about this, so I don't want to be like turning our back on everything we said, but he is kind of that do-it-all player for them. But it's really like his hands and stuff that impressed me about him. His want to at the catch point as well. I mean, he's just got that dog in him. After the catch, that's what he is.
Yeah, I think that's correct. He's also a little bigger, right?
Yeah, he's like Debo sized.
Yeah, damn straight. Okay, we're gonna play a quick game, then we're done. The game is it's over under 2024 first round or 2025. Start with wide receivers. 2024, we had 3 wide receivers in the top 10, 6 total in the first round. I think it's hard to say there will be over or even a tie this year. But of course, nothing's ever impossible. You kind of have a big 3 wideouts this year with T-Mac, LB3.
Travis.
Yeah, Egbuka.
I mean, people
Tory
love
Horton, Isaiah Bond are in the
Evan
mix
Stewart.
for sure. Evan Stewart, the Oregon kid, who's a transfer.
I'm going to say it's a push. I say it matches.
You think, huh?
Yeah.
I think 6 is a push, but less than the top 10.
I would agree.
I think it's a push in both. I think it's 3 in the top 10, 6 total in the first round.
I think Travis Hunter's position designation
could be the determining factor.
Mm-hmm. Do we get 1 tight end in the first round again, like we had Brock Bowers last year?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say we get 1 just because it's become such a big part of the offense. And I think there's some teams with older tight ends that might be looking down the line.
Yeah, we'll get at least 1. It's another push for me. I do think there's a chance this goes over, though.
Yeah, I think so too. Loveland and Del Pallone, I think, could
the Iowa kid
could do the trick.
The North Carolina kid.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, I actually think this is a better tight end class than we had last year, which outside of Bowers was a bit meh. In fact, if you had ranked Holker as your 6th tight end,
wouldn't have
probably
been
going to be
controversial.
proven right. Offensive tackles. Last year was an insane class. We had 6 in the top 20, 7 total in the first round, and then 2 more interior offensive line. One's the center, Barton out of Duke, and then Jordan Morgan, who was a left tackle at Arizona, but I think will be playing guard at Green Bay. And this year I don't know. Do I like the top of this offensive tackle class more than I did last year's? I might just.
Really?
There's the top 2-3 guys are pretty intriguing.
I really like those 2.
I loved Joe Alt last year. You were a big Olu fan.
I'd say it's about comparable.
Yeah, that's true. And I think last year just was so many guys. 7 with 9 O linemen total is a lot.
So what's the number here? 7?
7 first rounders. I know, right?
Under.
I think this is an
Slightly.
under as well.
I'll lean under, yeah.
This is where now we move to some of the defensive positions where I think this debate is interesting. And we'll start with edge rusher. And here's where I think 2024 makes up the difference in a lot of ways. Because edge rusher, I think you do clear 4.
Oh, yeah. I think so. I love James Pierce. I love Nick Scarleton. I love Michael Williams out of Georgia. Princely Umanamelian.
Yes.
Really
yes.
fun player out of Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Lots of people
And then
think
the Penn
Abdul
State guy.
Carter, right, out of Penn State.
And then your
is
guy, Landon Jackson. Of course, yeah.
Big
Easy.
time.
Easy over.
Landon Jackson, Ethan Burke, a guy we're not talking about enough. Patrick Payton, the FSU guy who's long.
And if
Pause.
JT Tuimoloau just gets to the quarterback
Right.
this year,
Right. The 2 Ohio State guys, him and, Jack Sawyer. You're watching a couple guys at CU, Yeah. Agreed. Linebackers, off ball. Last year we had none.
How's Harold Perkins?
So
That's
much of it comes
exactly
down
it.
to Harold Perkins, right? So much of it. Because Barrick Carter, nah. Benny Stutzman, Oklahoma, nah. Maybe the Utah kid, Lander Barton. Some people
I
are
like
excited
him.
about
Yeah.
him.
Dante Lawson, I like at Bama, but
Jay Sean Barnes, a good player at Michigan.
It all depends on Harold
it's Perkins.
Yeah.
It's Perkins or none.
Okay, so you beat him out. But he's the Hassan Reddick of this class.
Mm-hmm.
He's part of the linebacker family, but it's the pass rush that brings.
Joey B in the Toyota chat wants to know what I'm grilling this weekend. Got to grill. It is all about the college football season. Got to get the tailgate rolling. I think I'm going to go with some brats this weekend. I'm feeling brats might be the move. Sunday, especially.
Great call.
I'm going to be tired after staying up late, writing, rewatching that Texas game. He also wanted to know who tailgates better, SU or CSU. It's going to be a cop-out because Dre is right in the middle, and we don't want to put him in an awkward spot. But I'll say this.
That's great.
We know how to tailgate well in this state when it comes to football. Just point blank, period. It's a good tailgating state.
Good tailgate vibes.
Total cop-out on the answer, but we're trying to keep things civil.
And safety, I think, once again, you're going to have an edge this year with Malachi Starks and some of the other guys.
He can fly.
Makuba. Yeah, Starks is a...
Iowa kid.
And then next year with Caleb Downs, I mean, I
Which
think...
one?
The Nwankpa.
Yeah, yep, exactly. I mean, you've had a few guys who've been on our radars for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this year's safety class, next year's safety class with Caleb Downs and some of those guys are going to far exceed last year's safety class.
I think that was the biggest move in the portal this cycle was Caleb Downs going from Bama to Ohio State.
Hard to disagree, man. Hard to disagree. That kind of range and coverage deep is, yeah, that's huge. So I think it's the defense will be better this year and quarterback.
How many do we know off the top of our head? How many defenders went in the first round last year? I know it wasn't one until 16 or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll say this. I'll just set a line. Over, under 4.5 defenders in the first round.
We had way more than that.
It was way
last
more
year.
than that, right? Because you had the
We
corners.
had 9.
9.
Yeah. So what would the line be? 8.5?
This is that's an easy over.
For this year, I think you set that closer to
13. Yeah,
More like a
14.
50.
Set
True
it at-
50-50.
yeah, true 50-50. Set it at 16 and a half.
This is going to be a defensive heavy first round, I think. The corners.
Defensive
edge.
tackle
You got a lot
is
of
the
edge
other
rushers
area.
as DT. Yeah, it's a good point.
Corner. You've got a nice corner class, man.
Yeah.
You've
That's
got
a
a
good
really nice corner class. So, wow. Week 1's here.
We are back.
All those names to watch this week, whether you're a Broncos, Buffs, Rams fan, or some combination of the three, you'll be tuned in. So we love it. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you to Tiff behind the sticks and my two guys for Buffs and Rams. We'll be back next week having that Connor Wigman, Riley Leonard, and so many more combos. Only gets better from here. Till then, bye.
We all silly like the mayor.